Todd, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm so excited to jump into this dialogue. I want to start right out of the gate from the macro perspective. You are a CEO, you're a father, you're a grandfather, but I'm really curious, how would you describe what God has called you to in the work that you do in every situation? How would you describe the calling God has placed on your life?
I think God has called me to connect with people, help people, grow people. It's given me opportunities and skills that allows me to do that and connect with people. And taking just the technical skills and all those things to help other people do great things with their businesses, actually, and grow mine as well to keep my family involved in that. I think that's what, over all these years, that's what the calling has been, including crossing your path, right? I think this is all connected some way or shape or form. I don't know where this journey is going to take me going forward.
That's right. You and I have known each other. Is it like 7 years now that we've known each other? We've been friends?
We're close to 10.
Close to 10. That's insane.
15.
I don't know how it happened so fast. Why don't you tell everybody the genesis story of our relationship so we can be full disclosure here.
Full disclosure.
The backstory of our relationship is so much fun.
So you met my daughter and her husband back in 2014, 15, probably right in that neighborhood, about 15.
Yeah, that's right.
You officiated their wedding in 16. So over that course of 15 to 16, we got to know you, started coming to Restoration where you were pastor. And as we grew into that, into the wedding, right, then we got to know each other further. And then you got to know Kyle, my son, my youngest son,
yeah.
who's 2.5 years younger, who got married a year ago. But in that course of meeting Calissa and Jonathan, as we started going to church, one of the things that you inspired me to do is, one, be a little more active in, like, I do announcements at church. But then the bigger thing is that you inspired, nudged,
pushed, yeah,
to read the Bible. And we did that through the Bible app, Bible Project in a Year.
Yeah.
First time in my life that I've ever done it. So that is probably 5 or 6 years ago, right?
Right.
And so now what turned into have not doing any routine is now a daily routine, and we've been doing something together since then.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit, because one of the things that I'm super passionate about is the daily disciplines, right? And we say around here all the time that if you're not dedicated to your disciplines, you'll be destroyed by your distractions. How has creating that space for God in the morning shifted how you see the world?
The good part about doing that every morning, and I'm very,
you're very faithful. You don't miss typically.
I typically don't. At the first year, a little hit or miss, right? But now it's my startup to my day. I believe that it grounds me in a couple different ways. If there's an overlying theme that resonates, is have grace, remain humble, remain thankful. And when I do that, the things that can be chaotic in a day or disruptive or not good, this all tempers that. That just puts it in perspective that I don't have to have this emotional reaction. I just stop and pause and think through it first. I don't know that there's some reason that this is going on, right? I don't know what that is, what test that is, or what not test this is, but that starts the day on the right mindset for me every day.
That's so good. And I think for so many of us, it's really the best foundation that we can build our day upon. But it's especially good for guys like you and I who are passionate and are out there a little bit. And I happen to know that in college, you played a role that was very, let's say, motivating, let's say enthusiastic. Why don't you tell everybody where you went to college and what I'm talking about? Can you tell us
Well,
the
this is
story?
highly unexpected, so we'll just go with it. All right. So, um, I went to University of Dayton.
Go Flyers.
Go Flyers. I graduated in '86, and my senior year,
What's
so
your wait? What was your degree in?
mechanical engineering.
Which I think is really important because as you get to know Todd, you're going to realize he's not your typical mechanical engineer. Okay, so your senior year, keep going.
I was finished up my engineering degree, and I tried out to be the mascot and was selected to be the mascot for Rudy Flyer for the University of Dayton for my senior year, which allowed me to do the Dayton air shows and parades and birthday parties. And I'd visit children's hospitals to go visit the sick kids. And I'd go to business events if somebody wanted us anywhere. I go to baseball games. I go to football games. It didn't matter. If you wanted me to come, I showed up. Channel 7 was fantastic. We had to make a TV video that they're still using today. It actually came out as a part of it. They reused here in the last couple weeks. I can't believe it. So it's got the old costume and all the things that we did back in '85, and they're still using it, which is
That's
kind of
amazing.
cool. And then, the university, my alumni contact, actually, I got to go back for one day, one giving in April. They let me put the uniform on and run around and sweat my tail off for 2 or 3 hours and let me pick on the kids. And I had a blast doing that and redo it. And I forgot how hot this suit really is.
Well, one of the things I love about that is that I think that a lot of leaders struggle to get out of their comfort zone. Right. And here you are, you're a senior, you're a mechanical engineering major, but you're really outgoing. What did you learn about yourself as you were motivating, encouraging, and supporting the much larger community?
That if you go out to help others and that's where your focus is and trying to help them figure out what they need, that you create this trusting relationship, right? That you're really helping them. And it helps you what we're doing is helping people. So, right, but if you go with that mindset that I'm helping somebody or giving back to them, right, then it really just comes back around, right? Um, and I watched my grandfather who lived in their grandparents lived in northern Minnesota, 8th grade education, right, welder, right. But what I watched him do when I was a kid, right, he talked to everybody. He helped everybody. They always right. And it was this, I thought that was fantastic that no matter what, people would come to him for help or he'd go help. He'd always stop what he was doing. Both of them, my grandmother as well. But he was just chatty with everybody. My grandmother was not so chatty, but my grandfather was, right? And I always thought that was a cool way to be with people. And so you've been around me long enough and you will know there are no strangers in my world. And my family loves that about me.
Yes and no, right? Like they love who you are and they love your extrovertedness. But I think at times, much like my family, they can get a little tired of waiting on me to finish a conversation before we move on to the next thing.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Now, when you graduated the University of Dayton, you kind of had a very interesting journey to where you are now.
Yes.
You didn't fit the common mold of a mechanical engineer. Can you kind of give us the very kind of condensed version of that story, sharing a little bit about some of the places where you did work along the way? And then, in the midst of all of that, how did you know when the right time to move was?
That's all good things, right? So I started off as a research engineer, actually, doing electromagnetic railguns under the Reagan Star Wars Defense Initiative. Realized that physicists don't talk to people, so that was not good for me. Went to an application engineer for Chemoneer, which does mixers and agitators for the chemical process industry. I love that part because it was application oriented, not research oriented. So I like the application of things. That's one of the things I learned about. I like applying engineering principles, whatever it is, using the application with it, hands-on stuff. So I like that. Got my MBA there, wanted to go outside and be in front of people more, and that was not an avenue they wanted me to go. They wanted me to stay inside. So then I moved into this energy field with a local mechanical contractor who sold. I went to Duke Energy in the Enron days, doing this same kind of thing in this energy sustainability world for 3 or 4 years till Enron screwed the world up and we had to go find new homes because everybody sold us all off. Went to Train on the HVAC side, was there for a few years. They also got bought and sold. So one, I picked up HVAC systems, and the other one was mechanical contract systems. And then I went, because I was doing different industries like healthcare and manufacturing, that I went to a roofing company and picked up all about what roofing systems do and envelope systems. And I was I was running North America, and I got tired of living in airplanes. And at some point, you go, I'm doing this all for other people, and I can't even do it where I grew up, where I live. I'm doing it in New York and California and Canada and Florida and all these other places, everywhere but where I live. And so right before Calista got married, or shortly thereafter, I knew that year was the time to go do it. God sent a few little signs, a little nudges to go, hey, you're not listening. I'll send a bigger signal for you to hear. And so that was the right time after Calista got married and Kyle was just about out of college, that we had the ability to do that. And I was 52, and that was the time to do it. And so in September 16, I took a huge leap of faith and stepped out of a 2-week paycheck or monthly paycheck, I don't remember what it was, to go start helping people locally. And we're off and running in the first year. It was crazy.
And you essentially,
yeah.
You started a family-owned business, kind of initially as a solopreneur, but not for long before you hired Kyle to be a part of it. And Kyle has some incredible gifts.
Yes.
And now multiple members of your family work with the business. What did it mean for you to walk by faith? Because that was a big step. That wasn't like some minor step that was like nothing. This had major implications to mortgages and to different things. What did you do when it was the really hard days?
The really hard days is, so you think about in 16, right? Again, coincidentally, right? That coincides with the time you and I are meeting. Mm-hmm. We're getting to know each other, right? And you're hearing this faith that you're going to move, right? And that, and what I mean, right? You can't stay stagnant, right? You're going to move. If you're going to grow, you're going to move, right? And so those kind of days and those messages resonate, that that there's going to be tough times, but you just keep doing the everyday exercises and the things you do and keep reaching people and touching people, and most importantly, helping people and believing that that's the right thing to do, because I had a lot of faith that that was the right thing to do. And it didn't take very long, Tony. I mean, it was a couple months, and we had secured enough business, maybe in the first 6 months, that I had covered my whole year in a few 6 months, just because, I'm geared, as you know, I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And I'll go until I've touched enough humans. Yeah.
One of the things that's interesting about your story is that throughout your career, you didn't chase roles, you chased passions.
Yes.
Right. You never chased things that could do that could have, really suited your degree. How did you discern in your heart, like the people part of who you are was more important than the engineering part of who you are?
So the fundamental belief that I had is that family was important, and kids, being around for them, seeing them grow up, being part of that. My dad was a Dayton cop. So when I was growing up, he was off shifts with me quite a bit. So there'd be weeks I'd see him during the day, and other weeks he was working all night shifts, and we were just completely off schedules, right? That was just his role in his world, right? And when I moved into my role, as I got older, to be a dad and a father and a husband, right? I wanted to be around with that family and be engaged in that the whole time. And so that was the part I wanted to protect: my faith
Mm.
and my family. Right. That's the two pieces I wanted to keep whole, no matter what.
Let's say that you're talking to a young leader right now who's in the middle of an incredible up and to the right kind of career, right? And they're serving at a big company. They're faith driven, but they're also an executive. Maybe they're an entrepreneur, and they're wrestling in the tension of, how do I be there for my kids who maybe are in sports, maybe they're doing all the things. How do I be there for them? How do I be there for my wife and also, or husband, and at the same time also continue to grow the career? What does good tension in that area look like from your perspective?
That's a tough question, actually, because when you go on that path in the corporate world where you're trying to grow, the demand, that tension and pull is that they're first,
Hmm.
right? And when you there's a line that you step over. And when you go and you step into that circle, you've stepped into that circle. I have a roommate from college that did this. I have two that did this out of my five roommates, right? A couple of us have not. And you can hear what they hear, all the good things they did in we talk about stuff, right? They have all the stuff and things, but what about the time you missed?
Yeah.
You can't recover time and experiences. You can't see them on a CD or stream them or FaceTime them, right? That's not being part of them, right? And that's a tough choice, because you're really going down that pull for power, influence, right? And the bigger the companies are, the more the demand is. It's all in. They own you. And I literally had an experience at my Duke Energy that solidified this in 2001. First big project I had with Duke Energy. Kyle had to stay home. He was sick. Linda's teaching. It was in the morning, so she didn't have time to get a sub. I stayed home. We were supposed to have a meeting with Miller Brewing. And the guy I worked with, one of my counterparts, perfectly capable as an intro, he took my place. Two guys, they covered for me, right? The next day I go in, the VP calls me in, and he chastised me for letting that happen. He goes, "You need to pick your priorities. You need to choose where you're going to be." And I went, "I already know that answer." Literally within 6 months, I was gone. I was done,
Yeah.
because he was demanding that I pick the organization over my family. And so you're going to have to decide. If you pick one's going to, it's very hard to balance that when you get that far up. I don't know how you do that, Tony. I don't know how you cross over and try to juggle that, other than burning the candle at both ends, and you just burn out, you flame
Yeah,
out.
I'm not sure that there is such a thing at balance once you get to a certain level, right? Like
Yeah.
it's more just all in or all out, or what does it look like, or how do we do both?
Yeah. I don't know
What,
you. I don't know how you do half in or half out with anything and try to
well,
walk the line.
certainly I've never been good at it, that's for sure.
I'm not good at it.
One of
No.
the things that I respect about you so much is the fact that you are friends with your adult children, right? Both of your kids, you've got two kids,
Yes.
and you guys get together routinely for holidays, Sundays. You guys have a football watching routine with just the dudes. And then, but your family is close. You guys still vacation together.
Right.
How would
We're all still alive too. How about that? Right.
Right.
and they want to keep going back. They keep asking to go back. That's a testimony in itself.
Well, how would you, you're ahead of me on the curve.
A
How
little
would
bit.
you give me some practical advice on how to create relationships with my kids where they want to be around me as adults?
So I'm already looking back. I think you're already starting down that path with your oldest, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're already doing the things with your other two, right? Because you're in their lives, right? You're not just you're involved. You're part of what they're doing, right?
Sure.
And what happens is those activities change to, not everybody's going to have the same interest, but you know, my daughter has way different interests than I do. She talks to her mom, and because they're both teachers, right? But we still will go do things, her and I. But Kyle and Jonathan, we have similar tastes. We like to do things, right? And I think because they're glad to do those with me, right? That it becomes fun, and it's no longer that I'm the authoritative person, or I'm the dad, or I'm the father-in-law, right? It's they'll banter with me just like I'm one of them.
Hmm.
And that took a little while because there's some days, right, we're with Kyle, right, and he'll call me Todd. He doesn't say Dad. He talks to me like it's my first name, like we're just somebody
We're just work buddies. Right.
we're working with, right? And he jokes about that because he thinks that's kind of funny. But um, it's no different than anything else. It's consistency. It's every day showing up to do that. It's not show up on a spot and having a blitz for a week. And it's been for 30 years. This has been going on since day one with them.
When you think about having a family business, one of the things that I hear from time to time is how hard it is to work with your family because they're family and it's complicated and the relationships are complicated. Yet when I look at EBEB, the name of your company, that's for those of you that don't know, energy benefits for every business. When I look at EBEB,
Yes.
it doesn't feel that hard to work with Kyle and Jonathan. So your son works there, your son-in-law works there, and then there's about 3 other people on the team who are also involved in EBEB. How do you make that look so easy?
So I don't try to turn people into me.
Tell me more about that.
So if, I've worked for people that say, you should do it this way because this worked for me. And they try to mold you into, say, repeat exactly what I do, how I do it, how I say it, how I write it, everything. They want to turn you into them. And I learned a long time ago, right? Probably in grad school, right? That's people are their own people, right? And if you let them have some responsibility, and that might even mean let them fail, fall, not easy to let happen, but that letting go, which is not easy for me as well, as you know, uh, is I'm trying to let them also have some independence about this, make decisions, and let them do it their way. There's no one right answer. There's an end result we need for things, but there's a lot of different paths to get there. Engineering in itself, there's no one engineering answer either. Okay, so there's lots of ways to get there, and if you don't do that, you don't let them have their own creativity. What's the point, right? So it's hard at first to try to tell people to do things your way because there's also, I am particular about things, as you know. Um, and I have a certain set of time frame with it, but you have to let people do their own thing a little bit and nudge when you need to nudge. But you have to nudge in a way that you want to talk about being conscious, right? About it, you have to be conscious about this so that you don't send them into a state where they're resentful and just shut down. And everybody's got their own way of taking on that information, right? And so that's probably just a time skill that I've learned to adapt, and I'm not perfect at it. I fall and fail on that frequently because I get in my own mindset. But I'm not shy of having an opinion. Right?
And all the people said amen.
And so I don't have a terrible amount of patience sometimes. I want it done, right? But that comes from That's just the way my mother was, right? I got a lot of funny stories about my mother, but but I'm just kind of letting them grow as well, right? And kind of being a backstop in case something's catastrophic. And
Sure. One of the things that's beautiful about the way that you do business, and I've observed it up close and personal, is you're a fierce lifelong learner. And so you love to read, you consume a lot of information. When did you begin to really facilitate that leadership posture? You mentioned conscious leadership. You've done some work, obviously, with my coaching business, but also with Aileron, and like those are all parts of your posture.
right.
Aileron, for those of you that don't know, is an entrepreneurship center here in the Dayton area, the Miami Valley area. When did you decide that becoming a lifelong learner was a posture that you wanted to hold on to?
So my first job was very task oriented, right? And if you told me to do 1 through 10, great. Give me the 1 through 10 things. I'll go get 1 through 10 things done. And then a couple of times, and this is back before there's Google and the internet and everything else, right? My boss is like, well, you should think about what that means, right? I'm 24 years old. Think about what? Rail gouging and electromagnetic rail guns. I'm like, well, I don't even know what that is.
That sounds terrible.
I know, right? So they go. So it's not like you Googled it and go, wonder what that is, right? So, and I'd watch these guys sit around and think. But I don't think I had enough background or experience to just think about things. And then after that job, and I went into the application process. What started happening is, the word I'm going to say is curious,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're like, well, why? Start asking this why stuff. Curious. Why does that work? Well, what if that happened, right? And as you gain more experience, then you can have more curiosity about stuff, right? Till you fast forward to the day, right? I'm curious about everything, right? And I'm more, and that falls over into, as I talk with people, right? I ask them a lot of questions about what they're trying to do, what they need, what they're looking for, what's bother, right? I'm asking this, how do I try to figure out why you need something, or how I help fit into what you need so that it helps you. Literally just came from a meeting today about this project is stuck, and the owner's trying to figure out where to go with this. And we just sat and just brainstormed a little bit, and it just helped him break through where he was stuck. Did it do anything for me today? No. It just is creating that relationship that I'm helping and being curious about how to help him. So I think the big word that I is just being curious, more and more curious. So I want to know more about stuff, which is back to the Bible, right? We're going over and over all this stuff, and I'm reading more and more, and I'm like, well, why does that connect here? Why does that connect here? Right? Today was, we're reading Revelations, and everything a third. They knock off a third of everybody. I'm like, why a third? What's the magic about a third? So curious.
We're studying. Yeah, for sure. The other thing about posture of curiosity is that it lends itself to a posture of generosity. And so one of the stories that I have to tell about our relationship is that you were the very first person to ever hire me as an executive coach. Before I'd even really cut my job. Well, so for those of you that don't know the story, is I was in front of a friend who said, hey, you should think about doing this executive coaching. And I created a Google form. You might remember it. And in that Google form, I asked people if they were interested in coaching. And I learned about some pain points. And like you said, just being curious, I sent it out to a bunch of people. My friend sent it out to a bunch of his network. And you were one of the first people to reply and said, I'm interested in coaching. And you signed me that week. You were bold in your generosity. And listen, you changed my life forever, right? You were literally, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but you were literally an answer to prayer that day, because I said, Lord, if you want me to do this, you have to make it abundantly clear. And he made it abundantly clear in the version of Todd Smith saying, yeah, you can coach me. We can figure it out. And by God's grace, we are entering our second year of that engagement. So it's almost now been it's just 15 months probably that you and I have been working together in a coaching relationship. And then I'm doing now annual meetings and quarterly meetings with your team. And so how do you decide, take me out of it, how do you decide when to be generous?
I don't have that it's a decision to be generous. I just think it's be generous all the time. And I'm going to go back to my grandparents, right? I watched them be generous all the time, always, right? And my mother was very much like this. And Linda's like this, my wife, right? And so I don't have this, I didn't view it as being generous. Believe it or not, I'm like, this is a great idea, right? Because it's connected with our fundamental philosophy about faith, right? And you're not the first person to tell me that I've crossed a path like this, and then it changed their direction, which I didn't think about it changing your direction, right?
Sure.
My alumni contact, I'll tell you this story, right? She's from UD. It's 6 or 7 years ago, and we meet once a year. She's trying to extract money like normal, right? That's what they do from
That's
alumni.
their job. Yep, of course.
We're talking, and she's just like, she just wasn't like upbeat about it. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, I just don't know if I like my job. I'm like, how could you not like your job? You get to meet people, you get to talk to people, you're helping the university, right? And she will bring us every year. She goes, that day changed my entire outlook on my job. Who would not like your job to go meet and talk about university date and just meet all these other people? That's got to be great. And she'll bring this up every year we meet. She goes, right. So it's funny you said this to me today because I don't really think about it like that. I think it's just my gut tells me. Here, you want to talk about? We call it the Holy Spirit, right? The Holy Spirit's right in my gut all the time, going, "Hey, this is a good idea."
This is a good idea.
And then you just go, and I don't have to. I don't tend to, contrary to engineering people, right? If I got a good gut feel, then I know it's the right thing. Another little story is, I don't know if you know or not, but my wife and I only had 10 dates.
I did know that, actually.
Yeah, over. And 1 year between my senior year, we did not go out. She was in University of Delaware.
You guys were separated by,
10 weekend dates.
10 weekend dates. And then
37 years is tomorrow.
Shut it. Congratulations.
How about that?
That's incredible.
10 dates. And I knew it. Don't ask me how I knew it.
You just knew it.
I knew it.
Well, one of the things that I'm really excited about with our partnership is that we're kind of leaning into a new season. And you, again, just graciously have agreed to become the official sponsor of the podcast. And so heading into 2025, EBEB Solutions is going to be the sponsor of the podcast. And so I think it's important to tell everybody what you do, because the work that you do is applicable if you own a building, if you're buying a building, if you're developing something, or you're looking for a way to help with some tax credits. Give everyone kind of the elevator speech on what EBEB Solutions is.
So we help business owners see how to use energy efficiency savings to trigger multiple tax incentives that you can stack that create a couple of different things. They keep your income to yourself. You pay less taxes. It allows you to make your business more profitable. It increases the cash flow in your business, but it all stems from, believe it or not, energy and renewable energy. And that is a simple way to do that. And you package it all with financing. So banks are using us to help them get their deals done. And it doesn't matter the industry, and it doesn't matter the size. It could be a small 2,000 square foot fast food restaurant we help somebody with. It could be a large manufacturing, it could be healthcare, it could be nonprofits. We've helped churches, we've helped YMCAs, doesn't matter. We're helping revitalize our community and taking these things and putting them together uniquely. And that's the simple part of it. Yes, is it a lot more complex behind the scenes? Absolutely.
But that's where your numbers brain just works magic. And I've had the privilege of watching you do this firsthand. And when you get podcast family, when you get Todd on a whiteboard, it's a little Rain Man-ish in the sense of like he just begins to see things that other people don't see, and he can stack benefits in a way to put money back in your pocket. So let me just say this unabashedly, that if you are a business owner and you're concerned about your cash flow heading into 2025, if you're a developer and you're concerned about taxes in 2025, you need to contact Todd and his team today. Don't wait another minute. Get on their website, fill out the form, get connected, and have a conversation. One conversation just might change your life, just like it changed mine.
Thank you for that. That's very nice.
Well, it's true. It's true. And it's so good. So I have one more question to ask you. But before I do, I know that the podcast family is going to want to connect with you. Where is the best place to learn about you if they want to connect with you personally, or if they want to connect with EBEB Solutions?
So our website's ebebsolutions.com. That's the website. What do you want, a phone number? There's a phone number.
Email. Or LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn?
I'm out on LinkedIn under Todd Smith. So LinkedIn.
We'll link to that in the show notes. We'll put we'll do that in the show notes. We'll link to your LinkedIn if people want to connect with you, and let them tell you how much they appreciated you being on the podcast. You're also on Facebook, right? Are you on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And so I appreciate you having me on here, because that's just fun to chat with you all the time. Anyway.
Always. So my last question I love to ask people, and because you've listened to the podcast before, is an advice question where I invite you to go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice. And I want to take you back to a certain season. So I want to take you back to your wedding day.
Okay.
Now, I've been there for all of your kids' weddings. I got to be a part of officiating both your kids' weddings, and I would have loved to have been there for yours and Linda, but unfortunately, I was very young at that time.
You're very young.
I'm 44 now, so
okay. So that's
I would have been 7.
Yeah,
7.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's take you back to that day. It's the morning of your wedding. You're putting on your tux. You're getting ready. You're hanging out with your groomsmen. But I want you to pull yourself aside for just a minute from that whole group of people. Yes. And I want you to sit knee to knee with that younger version of yourself and give you one piece of advice. Give him one piece of advice about the journey he's about to go on. What's the one thing you're going to tell him?
Different or the same?
What's just the one piece of advice? It can be different or the same. It could be anything.
Okay, so the one piece of advice that I would give myself, or that I will say I try to follow, is stay positive and look for the positive things, no matter what. Don't there are tougher things that happen, but I'm always my wife will always tell you that I'm incredibly overly optimistic all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't see that as something I think that served me, that I didn't really think about at the time. I just had that mindset. And so the advice is to have that same mindset. I tell my kids this. Stay on the positive side, because that positive viewpoint can overtake and overcome all kinds of other stuff that happens in your life.
That's so good.
And be curious. And that would be the second part. If I had a little sub note, right, is, just be a lot more curious early on. I wasn't that curious early on.
I think curiosity definitely comes with age.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
It's just really hard to know what you don't know when you're young.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's I just think that overlying thing has served me well. That I don't know that it was something that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sticks with me, Tony.
I love it. And I appreciate you more than I can ever put into words. So Todd, thank you so much for being a part of my community and for walking on this journey with the Follow the Lead podcast and for our sponsorship. And I can't wait to see what God does.
Same here. It's going to be fun.